All right, let's just dive right in. Today, we're exploring the very edge of life, this weird twilight zone of biology. We're going to investigate the ultimate biological pirates, viruses. And then we'll meet their even stranger cousins, the prions.
I want you to just let this question sink in for a minute, because it's really the heart of what we're talking about today. We're dealing with things that have no cells, they don't eat, they don't breathe, and by a lot of definitions, they aren't even technically alive, and yet they've completely altered the course of human history.
To get a sense of what we're up against, you've got to see the scale. An E. coli bacterium is already tiny, right? We measured in micrometers. A poliovirus is measured in nanometers. That means you could line up about 65 of them end-to-end inside a single bacterium. We're talking about a level of small that's almost impossible to even imagine.
So let's start with our main subject. What exactly is a virus? Okay, so here's the textbook definition, but the phrase you really want to lock onto is obligate intracellular parasite. That's just a super fancy way of saying they are completely helpless on their own. They have to hijack a living cell to do, well, anything. They are the ultimate freeloaders of the biological world.
So, if a virus is basically a tiny biological pirate all geared up to board and take over a cell, what's in its toolkit? Let's, build one from the inside out.
At its absolute core, you have the blueprint. This is its genetic material. Could be DNA, could be RNA, and it carries all the instructions for one single simple mission: make more viruses. This is the code for the hostile takeover.
Now, you can't just leave a priceless blueprint like that unprotected. It's wrapped in a tough protein shell called the capsid. Think of it as body armor, shielding that precious genetic code from the brutal environment outside of a cell.
Now here's where it gets really clever. Some viruses have an extra layer of stealth. As they're escaping a host cell, they literally steal a piece of its membrane on the way out, creating what we call an envelope. It acts like a stolen cloak, a disguise that makes it way harder for your immune system to spot them.
And finally, poking out from the surface, you've got these spikes. And these aren't just for decoration. Think of them as perfectly crafted skeleton keys. They are proteins shaped to pick the locks on very specific cells, which is how the virus finds its target and latches on.
So, with the full toolkit assembled, the virus is ready to go. Its entire existence boils down to executing this invasion playbook, a brutally efficient process for hijacking a cell and turning it into a virus factory. So here's how the heist goes down. Step 1, adsorption. The virus docks with the host cell. 2, penetration. It gets inside. 3, uncoating. It sheds its armor and releases that genetic blueprint. Now, step 4, biosynthesis. This is the takeover. The cell's machinery is hijacked. It stops all its normal jobs and is forced to just start cranking out viral parts. In step 5, assembly. All those new parts are put together, building thousands of new viruses. And then the finale, release, where the new viral army busts out to find more cells to infect.
And for the big getaway, they've got two main strategies. Enveloped viruses, the ones with the stolen cloak, usually prefer a stealthy exit called budding. They kind of just sneak out, wrapping themselves in that piece of the cell membrane as they go. But the naked viruses, they're not so subtle. They go for the explosive exit. They replicate and replicate until the cell is literally stuffed to the breaking point, and then it just bursts open. We call it lysis, unleashing the whole army at once.
But the real genius of a virus, the thing that makes it so successful, isn't just its invasion plan. It's the ability to adapt. They are absolute masters of disguise, constantly changing their appearance to evade our body's defenses.
A huge reason for this is that most viruses, something like 70% of them, use RNA as their genetic material. And unlike our DNA, which has proofreading systems, the process of copying RNA is, to put it mildly, sloppy. It makes mistakes all the time. And every single one of those mistakes is a mutation, creating a constant stream of new and different viral variants.
And all that sloppiness leads to two major evolutionary paths. You've got antigenic drift. That's the slow accumulation of all those tiny mistakes over time. It's why the flu virus changes a little bit every season and why we need a new flu shot every year. But then there's antigenic shift, and this is the big one. This is when two completely different viruses infect the same cell and swap huge chunks of their genetic code. The result can be a brand new Frankenstein virus that our immune systems have never seen before. And that is how pandemics are born.
So, we've covered the theory, but let's see how this stuff plays out in the real world.
It's time to meet a few of the most infamous agents of disease out there.
So for example, you have HIV. It's a special type of virus called a retrovirus, and it has this crazy enzyme that lets it write its RNA code backwards into our own DNA, making it a permanent fixture in our genome. Then you have something like SARS-CoV-2. Its whole game is about those spike proteins we talked about, which are the perfect skeleton key for the ACE2 receptors on our respiratory cells, giving it a direct doorway inside.
And here's another wild twist. Some viruses can actually cause cancer. In fact, around 10% of all human cancers are linked to a viral infection. When these so-called oncogenic viruses insert their DNA into ours, they can sometimes break the very safety switches that prevent our cells from growing out of control. This is how HPV can lead to cervical cancer, or how hepatitis B and C become major causes of liver cancer.
Okay, so just when you think you've kind of wrapped your head around how strange viruses are, the story takes a hard left turn. Because there's another infectious agent out there, one that's even more bizarre, one that truly breaks the rules of biology as we know them. I want you to meet the prion. Just look at this comparison. A virus has its protein coat and a genetic blueprint, right? DNA or RNA. A prion is just protein. That's it. There is no DNA, there is no RNA, there is no blueprint. It is an infectious agent with absolutely no genetic material whatsoever. So how in the world does it replicate?
The mechanism is straight out of a horror movie. We all have this normal protein in our brains called PRP, but for reasons we don't totally understand, one of them can spontaneously misfold into a toxic, corrupted shape. Now, when this rogue prion bumps into a normal, healthy one, it acts like a template, and it forces the healthy protein to corrupt itself and adopt that same misfolded shape. It's a terrifying domino effect that creates these clumps of useless protein, killing brain cells and leaving sponge-like holes in the brain.
And the results are just devastating. These are the prion diseases you've probably heard of, even if you didn't know what caused them. Things like Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease in humans, mad cow disease in cattle, and Kuru, which was a disease historically found in tribes that practiced cannibalism.
And what's the prognosis for any of these diseases? Well, they're untreatable, and they are 100% fatal. No exceptions.
So, from the genetic pirates that rewrite our cells' programming to the zombie proteins that spread by a cascade of pure corruption, these things are masters of hijacking the very machinery of life. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible architects are out there, silently shaping our world right under our noses?